So hello, everybody. And I'm going to start sharing my screen here in a second, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for coming to support my first ever product that I created. It's not something I'm used to doing. Um, and I also wanted to introduce Lyndon to everybody that doesn't know him. He's my partner in crime for this, and he has really helped me get the confidence I needed that, okay, this product is actually worth something and not just something that was in my head as being, oh, this is super cool, So um, here we are, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So bear with me. Please feel free to drop your LinkedIn profiles in the chat and say something about yourself, or let me know what you would like me to really focus on, because the whole app is about LinkedIn. So, and it'll also give you guys a chance to get to know each other better. So,
nice, some icebreakers. I love these icebreakers.
oh, I think I messed up how I wanted to share it. I'm going to start again. Dang it. Yeah, nothing like looking at Crudy with Crudy, right? So there's that. But I'm actually going to start by showing you guys what the purpose of this app is. And I'm going to use Lynn's profile in order to demonstrate stuff. For one, I didn't really need more than just, hey, honey, can I use your site as the permission? And second, it's because he creates very different content from what I do, and that would give a better comparison. So I've actually not analyzed his website before, so it'll also be a first time for him to see what I come up with. Now, the purpose of the app is to allow you to collect, organize, and analyze the content that you create. I've noticed that most of you that are here are creating content either daily or weekly or at least consistently. And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there are some of you who write really good articles, but you have not put them in a newsletter form, which means that your content is not reaching as far as it could. Because when it comes to newsletters, all your followers are automatically subscribed to your newsletter.
You sound like Josh McLean from what is it? He's C something in the C-suite of Nike. He says the exact same thing that you said to us right now. He's been on me about doing this all the time, every day.
So at least I know that I have some other people who agree with it. Now, there are a lot of coaches on LinkedIn who will help you with your profile optimization, your banner optimization, and all of that. This app does none of that. All of that is in the creative realm, which other than the little post-its I do, that's not my realm. So I am staying away from that. But I have found a few things in my observations and data analysis of LinkedIn. And that's what led me to create this app, because there are things that work and they work consistently, but we also need to track it in order to know what to improve on and how to improve on it. So that's where the idea of this app started. And once I started tracking my own data, I actually was able to improve my performance of my content significantly, because I could see what was clicking with people. and with which types of people, and whether the engagements are reflective of the content or not, right? Because we all know those AI comments which mean nothing. And then we know the comments from people that we know personally that mean a lot, and that you know that these people will support you no matter what you post. But in order to continue getting their support, you want to post meaningfully, not just, spam. So all of these things led to the app. Another common issue that I was facing and that I in my conversations have found is people track and save their content on Google Sheets or Excel files, or have to manually copy and paste the content of their posts onto a Word file, but then it loses the formatting because LinkedIn has a unique formatting style. So whatever you format on LinkedIn may or may not translate exactly when you copy and paste it in a Word or similar document. I don't know if you've ever tried to go through your own posts, but on LinkedIn, you have to scroll through. There is no way to just get to a post that you need. And so my personal thing was I created the app to start saving all my stuff in a Word file originally, but automatically. And the reason I did that is because it makes it searchable. So I can now go even into my C drive, where the folder is, and just search for a certain keyword, and it'll show all the documents that have that word in them. And that makes life so much easier than going through LinkedIn, where I'll end up looking at other people's stuff, which I don't care about. Not that I don't care about the people, but it's like right now, I just want to know what I wrote about this 5 days ago so that I don't say something exactly opposite. Anyway, so that is the background. And then once I started collecting information, I also did not want to use any web scrapers or tools because there's a lot of tools out there. They're considered my competitors, so I won't name them, I guess. But more importantly, I'm not naming them because some of them are using web scrapers and they are not approved by LinkedIn. So if you, as a user, are using one of those AI-driven apps, and for whatever reason, the algorithm trips on your content, it is your profile that will be banned or shadow banned. The company doesn't get affected. So one of the reasons why you'll see that there's some manual work required in order to use my app, but it has been done on purpose to make sure that the app does not violate any of the terms of use that LinkedIn has in place. So there is no place, for instance, on the app where you have to log in with your LinkedIn username or account. You just, and you can only gather data from your public posts. Similarly, we cannot track your impressions because in order to do all of that, you would have to log into the LinkedIn, and that violates terms of use. So please know that it was done for the safety of the user, and not because I don't know how to scrape with LinkedIn data. It's just not approved. So after all of this story, any questions before I move on? Okay, well, no questions. That's always good. So this is Lynn's LinkedIn profile, and I'm just going to open it here. I'm so totally promoting him right now. If you're not following him, he's an artist, and both of us quit our teaching positions to pursue our respective passions. And mine was data and analytics, and his was art. So he's creating art. But he does gorgeous work. So if you ever want to check it out, and like I said, I'm shamelessly promoting him, and that's okay. But how do we how do we, when I say that you have to copy and paste the link into the app, what do I mean? Most people feel that I am referring to this link on the top. You see the one on the top here, but that's not what you need to copy and paste, because that is your LinkedIn that requires your personal login to work. What you want to do is to go into a post and you'll see the copy link to post. And that's what you want to click on, copy.
What
And
if you
then
double click on Lynn's post and that takes you right to that link? Can you do that?
you can,
Yeah.
but when you want to collect multiple posts together, it
Yeah.
becomes very unwieldy to go back and forth.
Okay.
Whereas in this case, you can copy link, copy link, copy link. And so I'll show you what I mean here in 1 second, why the 3-dot option works best. So this is the interface for the Post-it Save It app. And you have to choose where you want your outputs to be saved. Brian, it's okay. I'll see you later.
See you later, Brian.
You have the HTML, so whichever formats you want your outputs in, you can choose your time zone. I tried to put all the time zones that are most common here. I'm in Central Time Zone, which is why you'll see, and you can set your default preferences so that the app will save that for every time you log in. You don't have to change it. Your output directory, your preference for output types, and the time zone will automatically get saved. So you just have to set them up the first time. This is the part I like. You can do a grayscale. The fancy colors that my kids said were, so this is my kids' pick. And then these are my brand colors. So you can choose whichever one works best for you. People have a different take on it. And then, so it, like we copied the post from, let's put them side by side and you'll see why it's easier to, when you were just using the 3 dots. So you can just copy link and then paste it here. Go back, copy link, paste it here. Copy, paste, right? And so on and so forth. I'm going to just use a few more. I think I got this one. Oh, and the cool thing is if you accidentally end up copying and pasting a link again, the app will automatically adjust it for you.
It's a really smart app.
Because there's no AI. It's all human driven.
Exactly.
I'm not dinging on AI. I do use it.
I love how that's becoming a differentiator now. We're like, hey, it's actually human. So
Yeah.
go.
I think I have it in my like little thing, like bringing the human back into analytics or something. It's like, never thought I would have to say that, but here we are. Okay, so I just copied 7 days worth. You can copy more, just, in the same way. The one thing I do want to point out is that there are different tiers. And in the analyzer tier, which is the top tier, that's the only one where the analytics are available. That's why it's called the analyzer. But you can only pick 15 links at a time. And it's not because there's a capacity issue, but because you will see it takes a little bit of time for the stuff to run. And if you like overwhelm your system with the links, then you might feel like it's not running or working and it'll crash. So hence the limits. So now you can do the process monthly outputs, which is here at the bottom. But since we are only taking 7 days worth of posts right now for Lynn, I'm just going to use the process custom output button. And it'll ask me if that's what I actually intended to do, because usually it's run by month. And here it'll run everything. So this is all that I had to do was copy and paste the links. And then this will show up once the outputs are created. And you will see that it created a custom folder here, which has all the the thumbnails from his videos and all the captions, wherever he used them, are in text files for the videos. And they're organized by date. So there's no renaming required. They just they are named based on the date on which they were posted. This creates a Word file. Now, because and I'll explain, this comes up later on, why thumbnails are essential if you're using videos for your own sake, but also because it helps your SEO improve on the general public search. I discovered this because this happened to me in the past, and then I started using thumbnails, and it actually improved my posted statistics search on Google. So using thumbnails for videos matters. But notice that all the stuff that was written, it has been kept in the same format that it was written. The direct link to the video for any video is saved. So that if you clicked on it, you could go just to the video and not anything else. It tells you how long the video was, 18 seconds per decimal, for instance, and saves the video script for you automatically. It also tells you whenever you save these, it'll collect the current number of followers. But if you imagine, if you're doing this week by week, then you will see the changes in your number of followers week by week.
So you can do this, can you do this daily too? So you get your new followers daily, like you know that it's increasing daily, and you can get your comments and create more analytics off it, or is it gonna take those analytics already?
For now, the follower count will get updated based on the day that you rerun something.
Mhm.
But eventually, that's one of the things that's on the back end is, saving it. If you're saving it by month, right?
Yeah,
Then for each month's Excel file, it'll have that month's followers. And so I'm working on creating an annual dashboard, which will show how your follower count changed from month to month. Because I've done it at the back end. It's the front end that.
yeah. So then you'll have it for the reactions and also the comments too, then?
Yeah, so reactions and comments are captured here.
Mhm.
And so you don't want to post the link right away. Give it at least 24 hours because that's where you get the most stable numbers for. But another cool thing is that it'll tell you in your local time, in normal people time, what time you posted, which it's impossible to tell because now with the new way that things are going, it's like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 6 months ago. It's like 6 months ago when? October, November, when, right? So that's where this, again, remember, this was driven based on my frustrations. So there might be aspects of it which may or may not be useful to you, but they're there. And where it can get a thumbnail, it'll save the thumbnail for you. So that's the Word file. You get the same thing with the HTML. Oh, where did it open up? I think it opened up anywhere. No. Oh, there we go. So in the HTML, everything's clickable. I haven't embedded the ability to directly change it into a PDF right now, because it was wonky for the desktop app. It would have required additional things to be added to the code, which would make it heavier. But in your browser, you can print it directly as a PDF. All browsers support it. And the reason that I have the HTML is if you use, which like I use Edge. So my default AI is Copilot. But I can ask, summarize this by fit 5 I'm just, I don't know if it'll do it or not. When I do it on mine, it works. There you go. It just went through this whole thing and tells you what your entire week's posts were about. And you could specify the prompt, obviously. All of you AI people know that the cleaner the prompt, the better the results. But this was just a spontaneous outcome, right? Then you get the Excel file. Oh, there we go. It's just taking a minute, sorry. And in the Excel file, and Tim, to your earlier point, this Excel file will hold these numbers for each month. And it tells you exact local time of post, date, how many reactions, comments, and the type of post, which is also critical because video or image, and you'll see that in the dashboards that it'll matter. And it also tells you the last day on which this was updated. So the number of followers are gathered based on this date. Also has the content and the links on your local folder, wherever they are at. So you could follow them through.
So, Kruti, can I just ask a quick question about that report? So essentially, it generates that Excel file based on that batch of up to 15 that you're loading, correct?
At a time.
At a time.
But if you were
Okay.
to add another 15, then it will organize it in the correct location.
Got it. Okay.
So it's just at a time it runs 15, but it is set. If you notice in what you see right now, you'll see a JSON file back here.
Mm-hmm.
It's where it collects the order of the posts and the information of the posts. So say that you started by putting in 15 for the, randomly, and then put another 15, it'll identify the unique ones and put them in the correct locations.
Got it.
So it'll update the entire doc, HTML, and Excel output so that it's in sequential order. It also saves the URLs that you enter so that you have them in one place. Instead of having to do it again and again, it saves them for future reference. And again, it's the same thing. When you put them in, it'll create it'll just add on based on the date. Now for the dashboard. Any other questions before I proceed? All right, so let's look at his dashboard. I'm curious about it. So the post analytics button is what it'll ask you if you need to create files, but we've already created them. So you can just say no. And then you click on the Excel file. And boom. That's your first dashboard.
It creates this whole dashboard for you.
Yeah.
Very useful.
With just those 7 things that we entered. All of this was auto-created. But tells you what the best day was, what was the best type of content that performed, total comments you received during the time period. Now, usually it's by month. In this case, it's, for the 7 days, total reactions and total engagement. Now, comments plus reactions will be engagement, but it helps to put that in that perspective. He did not use hashtags, which is why there's a missing hashtag thing here, which we had a conversation about this morning. But
But some people will say hashtags don't work, but they actually do so.
totally. What's funny is that from an algorithm perspective, hashtags are neither rewarded nor penalized.
Right, yep.
However, from an SEO perspective, hashtags are critical because those hashtags is what shows up when you Google search.
Yep.
So if you go to Google right now and just type in posted statistics, all of my posts show up because they all have that hashtag.
Mhm.
Even the posted statistics is not something people are going to search for, but you see,
Yeah.
see my point. But it works for people who know that that's like when I'm talking to people anymore, I don't ask them to search for my business name. I ask them to search for posted statistics. And you know what? They get more information about me than just my business. So again, average, in this case, daily engagement trend. I'll show you my dashboard later for April, just so that you have a idea of what all it collects. But the total engagement by day and hour of post. So what time did you post and on which day, and what is resonating with your network? So it's critical because it targets the people you interact with and not just random impressions that may or may not lead to any results. And you can save the dashboard if you like. I did not save it by default because you might want to keep updating it. But if you wanted to save it for any given week, you could, or month, you could save it manually. And this is the second dashboard. This is where my statistical heart had to do something which was dorky. So you have a normal distribution curve, which will be created based on the number of posts that you enter, or if it's a month, then it's 30 to 31 days worth. It gives you the margin of error. It tells you what your expected engagements are. It breaks down things, as in, like in the case of Lynn, his image file, he only had 1 post, but it got 31 reactions. And, 11 comments versus all his videos on an average got 36 total reactions, which were broken into 25 reactions and 10 comments. And, then of course, it tells you whether your performance was within range or not. No worries, Snigdha, I'll see you later. And then this one talks about how long was your post, and did that affect performance based on whether it was posted on a weekday or weekend. People don't like to read long stuff on weekends. Who knew? And then posting schedule based on your average and your performance. It tells you whether you are consistent in posting, whether you should become consistent in posting, which times work great, which times were kind of not good. And that's basically the dashboard. Second dashboard. There's 2 dashboards that get created based on. So any questions? I can just walk through this in the meantime if while you think about it. But this is my dashboard for April. And you'll see that I post every day. So I'm one of those crazy people, but I post every day. And part of why I post every day is because I was working on this at the back end. So like I said, the data geek in me was like, ooh, I wonder what happens now. So this is what happens now. But it had, when I first started doing this, I didn't have a dashboard for it. I was just looking at raw numbers. But it started helping me identify what was being rewarded by the algorithm and what wasn't. In terms of interacting with people, when to interact with people, showing up on the platform, even if I didn't have time to make a detailed post, writing 5 sentences is better than writing 0, stuff like that. If nothing.
Did it help you figure out the time of day to post for you? Because me and you post every day.
Yes.
And we're both posting at different times. Even though we're on the same time zone, does it help you figure out, readjust so you could fix that?
Right here. This is the second dashboard. And you'll see that I started posting at 9 a.m. instead of the 7 and 8 a.m. that I used to, because I found consistently that 9 a.m. posts, especially if they're related to a news story, pick up faster.
Okay.
And if you look at the dashboard for the weekdays and weekends, then you'll see that weekdays consistency is more important than the weekend consistency. And same thing with the number of words in each post. Evidently, I'm very wordy. I get that.
But there is an algorithm that tells you for LinkedIn what you should post for max words. If you're over it, your post goes down. I think it's like 100 or 200 words or characters or words, I think it was. And then also you have to have white space adding in there.
White space, yes, that's just for readability. But the words is actually based on my data is false.
Oh, it
There's
is.
no
Okay.
correlation. What
Oh,
matters
did that
is,
this help you find that, to know that? Okay.
so that's what I did. Like
Yeah.
I've been tracking this. So
Yeah.
my actual posted save it folder has about 13 months of data from like last April onwards.
Hey,
I analyzed it and I found that there isn't a correlation between words and reach as much as there is between, well, impressions may be affected, but I'm not counting impressions. I'm looking at interactions. And depending on what I'm talking about, I have to be conscious of how many words I use. Because if I'm talking about a complex topic, a 30-second video is great, but anybody who really cares about that topic reads the post. People who don't care about the topic may just not even see the full video and move on. And that's okay. They still had fun. It was cute. Move on, but so I found that there isn't a correlation when it comes to engagement and long words. Now, if I was going to go on and on about something random, yeah, nobody would care. But as long as it's on point or it's about the topic and it's a topic that people care about, they want to read more. So things that are news articles related, even though I'm making a video, I make it a point to explain more than I need to. So one of the things that I found is that on any post where I have 4 or 5 actionable insights, those posts, without exception, get more engagement. So again, one of those, I don't know, it worked for me. But and that's where you would have to see what is really clicking for you. And here are the hashtags that I use, and you'll see that some of them perform better than the others. And so those are the hashtags that suggest to me that something along those lines for, the next week is something that I should think about. But I really like my little normal distribution curve in this one because it's so pretty. And the range and performance levels are determined based on your average, not some random average which compares Lyndon and Timothy to each other, because they're two different people with two different audiences with two completely, different profiles. So this whole aggregating of a lot of the AI tools was really bothering me because it would say things like you just shared, Tim, there's a certain threshold beyond which it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because they're looking at certain super high viral profiles who can just put one picture and get 2 million likes. And you and I can put the same picture and get like 5 likes if we are lucky. So it has to be based on your audience, your network, and your interactions with that audience and network. So, any questions before I move on to the other details?
Rob, the data geek, is more interested in learning about the recommendations you have added. And an explanation of what the charts are showing for one of us with a PhD is stats. I think I read that wrong. And explain what the charts are showing. Yeah.
I would be more than happy to dive into those, Rob. But the key analytical insights for now are put in normal people words on the side of that little normal distribution chart, because the whole reason why I put those insights there was exactly what you said. I didn't want people to get scared, like, what is she doing? So it's in normal people words on the side, which says that what is the general range of your likes and reactions and engagements. So if a post gets, say, anywhere between 78 and 100 interactions, then your post is doing well. If it is less than that, then it's not doing as good as the others. And if it gets more than that, then that is the kind of post that you want to replicate or redo because it was doing much better than all the others. Does that help, Rob? Okay, awesome. And like I said, I'm always happy at any time to jump on a call, for anybody who needs it. So 3 tiers for the app. Now, there are some creators who don't need analytics because they're only creating 1 or 2 posts a week, and they just need the organization level for now. It's upgradable later on, but if you're just starting out and you're not really worried about the analytics and just want to see, oh, how did the 2 posts I posted this week do, then there's a collector level. Then you have the organizer level, which allows the custom post instead of just the monthly. And then the analyzer, that's like the big one. That's the one with the analytics and everything thrown into it. I was only going to go with the analyzer version, but then I thought about it and I was like, some creators don't post every day. And so maybe they don't really care much about weekly or monthly analytics, right? Because when you have only 7 or 8 posts, there's not, there would be a way to eventually figure that out, but for now, because we are not taking any login information, it creates that whole issue with LinkedIn rules and regulations on what you can and cannot extract. We can get the names of people, that's easy to do, and identify which ones are consistently interacting. But if you are active on your own profile, you probably know those names. already. So yeah, it can be done. It's just not being done because of the making sure that nobody's profile gets dinged for using this. Now, that was all the DIY options. Thanks to Lyndon and his awesomeness, we are also offering a done for you option. This is kind of new. It's not on my website or anything, but if you don't want to do any of this stuff yourself because you have to collect it, if you get the Analyzer subscription for the app, then we can do the back end work and send it to you, where all you have to do is to click on your app and look at your dashboards, right? So the Excel file, the collection of all the links and everything we can do at the back end. You just have to open the app, and remember how we clicked on Post Analytics and it asked you to pick an Excel file? That's all you have to do. If you want to do it for the entire last year, because that will take time. It took me time to do it for my stuff. Because you have to kind of scroll through every single post on LinkedIn for the profile in question. And we can do that too and organize it all by months, where it would be Rob, it does show you which post performed best by telling you which date, which post on which date worked the best. And you know, you can, if you look at the Excel file, you can get the details of that post. Absolutely. And then there's a coaching based thing. This is something that I'm open to suggestions on, because I can do a cohort depending on what the needs are. I have no idea what the market wants when it comes to it, because I'm not a LinkedIn coach. Can't really help you with profile optimization or, you know, keywords there. But in terms of content, absolutely, I can help you figure out what is working, how to make it better, what to change, and because I've spent a lot of time on my own stuff and I know what failed and what worked. So these are the updates that we're working on right now. Hopefully within the next month, I'll have the web-based application ready. I have most of it ready in Flask, but because all the code that I wrote for this app was manually written, AI keeps on trying to tell me what I should do. So I had to abandon that whole route, which people are like, oh, you can just vibe code it. No, you can't. So I'm redoing it for the web app and making sure that it remains robust. So that's what I'm working on. I'm also working on annual analytics dashboards, kind of going back to what Tim and others asked earlier. It'll show you how your follower count would change going forward, of course, because the number of followers are collected on the day that you gather that information. A text-based actionable reports. This goes back to what Rob was asking earlier. All those dashboards are pretty, but they give very, you know, they can mean different things to different people, and math and dashboards can be scary. So this will be like a one-page report that will be created from the dashboards in normal people terms to tell you what you need to do. At least for the people who are working with us on the coaching, that will be done on a weekly basis. We'll be creating app videos for helping with using the interface. I think once or twice, once you start using it, it'll be super easy to use because it's just copy paste link and go boom and you're done. But still, eventually we'll probably have a community or whatever. I can't see the last one. Okay. Analytics for business page. If that's the next thing that I'll be working on after this web app is ready, is that not just personal profiles, but business pages too. Unfortunately, if you have ever used a business page, you know that LinkedIn brutally penalizes you for using your business page for anything. And it's ironical considering that it's a business platform, but it is just the reality that we live in.
This would be very useful for people that are doing paid posts for people. Because I've done paid posts for companies too, and I just stay away from it because it's not for me. But I know other people that are doing it. Having this actually be able to show their clients, hey, this is what your analytics is showing based off of that paid post. That would be very beneficial to many of the people in my network that do that stuff.
And actually, it can also go into their media kit. If they are doing that kind of ghostwriting services,
Yeah.
or, you know, it can go into their media kit to show that how their content, and not in terms of impressions, because impressions, this is not Instagram. Impressions are not going to matter. It's the interactions, because you could have a post which only got 200 impressions, but you got 3 clients out of it. And I think that post is a lot more valuable because the interactions were from targeted people. Again, this is why there are 5 things that need to be remembered. Use hashtags, no more than 5, no less than 3. If you're using a video, upload a thumbnail. When you're uploading your video, it gives you the option to put a steady image alongside it. Use that option. It improves your SEO for that video on LinkedIn and outside. Because if LinkedIn chooses the thumbnail automatically, it does not fit into the regular criteria that a lot of SEO and web servers use, right? Because of the dimensions. So yeah, if you're using a 9:16 video or whatever, then use a 9:16 thumbnail. What I do is I use a square thumbnail because square images do better. So if you see any of my posts, you'll see that steady posted in the comments. That's what I use for the thumbnail as well, so that it shows much more clearly under the video feed. Format your posts with shorter sentences. There's a tendency to write long sentences. Unfortunately, most people are on their phone, like Mr. Rock here is right now. And it's harder to read on the phone when the paragraphs are long. So people just skip over or skim over, which is worse. So it's shorter sentences, 5 to 8 words, sufficient spaces between sections. It's not the algorithm, it's the fact that people stop and read it, that it affects. And a clear CTA at the bottom. I've noticed in a lot of people's posts, they write something really meaningful, but then there's no CTA. And it's a business platform. You're here to get clients, get a job, get to know people, network with like-minded people. Depending on what your goal is, you need to have a clear call to action. It doesn't have to be salesy if that's not what you're in for. But if you don't suggest to people what you intend to get out of it, they don't know. It's basically like you're asking them for what you need. You need a follow, you need interaction, you need a comment, say it. And so that's basically it. Oh, and one last thing, you tag yourself at the bottom of your own post. That will help.